Welcome everyone to Art Driven Roads. This is the second video dedicated to car photography. I already talked about who I am, blah blah blah, what are the basics of photography and so on. So go watch the first video to be up to date. Today we'll talk about editing. And I must say that I feel a pain in the chest every time I see a nicely framed photo destroyed by poor editing, because it looks like it has an Instagram filter applied to it. Now I understand that looks are subjective. Trust me. And here's the thing, it's pretty easy to rise up the sharpness, the contrast of a photo and just call it a day. But it's a little bit harder to edit a photo to make it look natural and at the same time contrasty and expressive. Today we're gonna edit 4, maybe 5 photos taken at different times of the day, and you will see how your light conditions determine what you can and what you cannot do with your photo. All photos come in RAW format because you can pull a lot more details from either underexposed or overexposed areas. I also use Adobe Lightroom for editing, which is an older version I had for many years. The graphic user interface is in Russian. Yes, I speak Russian, but don't worry, I'll translate everything. And after all the menu functions look the same in newer versions as well. Now, before we move on, I have to say that making these videos can sometimes be very time consuming. There are days when I cannot play with my dog and walk my cat because of that. So please subscribe and like this video so I can spend more time with my family. Alright, let's get into it. We are gonna start with this photo here. I said that all the 5 photos I'm gonna be editing with you today are taken in different time of the day. So tonight, I don't really have a morning photo here, but the one taken at the sunset is pretty much the same you get when you take the photo on a sunrise in the morning. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna start with this photo. I specifically chose photos that are more difficult to edit, and the reason for that is simple. If you have taken a good photo, taken a balanced one, as I'm gonna show you, for example, here, you see, so the photo is not all that good. I mean, it can be worked on for sure, but the overall photo is pretty balanced. So that's going to be another example. But most of the other photos are in much more difficult conditions. So you can see what are all of your options when you edit a photo in a difficult condition. So here it's midday, it's pretty sunny, as you can probably guess because you have harsh light, and even though I've used a CPL filter here on the car to mask the reflections, there was still a lot of reflections because of the way the sun hits from up. It's kind of hard, it's kind of tricky to get a good lighting and volume on the car, and at the same time keep it clean off the glare around. So anyway, first of all, what I normally like to do is to go all the way down. There is a tab menu called Profiles. So click here, and since we're using Adobe Lightroom, this is the profile the app will use by default. So you always go to neutral. You want the photo be in its most original state as much as possible. Now we can go all the way up. Histogram diagram, which kind of shows you where are your levels in terms of light and color. As we'll start to go through the settings, you will see how this diagram kind of starts to smooth out a little bit, so you don't have those hikes, let's put it this way. Alright, and another thing I normally like to do is to crop the photo. Now, I don't crop it manually. I like to use the preset standards for it. The one is right now is 4:3 for, I don't know, a better cinematic view, and especially a better view for phones or in full screen. If you have a 16:9 screen, I like to choose the 16:9 ratio, which is this. And if you remember my previous video, you remember that here you have your points, 4 points of framing, and even though I'm cropping the photo, I still have my element. In this case is the headlight, which is around where that point of reference is. So I can drag this a little bit up or down to make sure that it's still it's in there, or to make it more precise, but make sure that you don't get anything extra in your photo. So I'm gonna keep it somewhere here. I like it like that, and I press enter to select it. So this way now my photograph is cropped at 16:9. Let's get back. We got that. Now what I like to do normally, I normally like to check the white balance. So I'm looking around. I have the black car in the middle. I have grass. I have some yellow, brown colors here. So overall, I would say the balance is pretty good as is. I would probably try to wiggle a little bit left to right to see if I wanted to make it more warm or a little bit more colder. I would say let's keep it for now at stock the way it was. Or maybe it's one step colder. Maybe. Now let's keep it stock for now, because it seems to be pretty good. Now, before I go to exposure or contrast, I'm not going to touch the contrast for now because I want to see what's going on here with the lighting. And I start normally with the lighting, which is here. And basically what lighting gives you is kind of cooling down the lights around. As you can see, as I move down, the sky, the clouds kind of start to pop up. And even there's some texture to this, I don't know, antenna or whatever this is. Meanwhile, if I keep it stock, you see how it kind of lights and the texture kind of disappears. So I'm gonna go back and put it all the way down. This way, kind of the clouds start to appear. The light on the car didn't disappear completely, so that's good. Now the shadows, which is here, which is called teni, in case you know Russian. So for here, I'm gonna look at the tires, or the darkest areas of the car. I don't want to lit them up completely. You see, like here, because the colors or the lighting itself starts to kind of make it look flat. So I want to keep the original contrast of the photo, but I'm gonna light it just a little bit so I can see the shape of the tires a little bit better. Right? I still want to keep the main contrast, the stock contrast. Now the whites, you see how if I'm bringing the whites up, the clouds are still visible. So that's kind of a counter setting to the first one, to the light. So that's the light setting and that's the white setting. So I guess I'm gonna bring this up just so this is the stock. Just gonna bring it a little bit up. I don't want to mess up the clouds I just brought in from the light area. The black, and it works kind of the same way the shadow works. So I'm just gonna pull just a little bit. I don't want it too much, because you see the photo becomes flat again. And same thing the vice versa. It becomes really contrasty with a lot of black accents. I want to light it up just a little bit. And in this case, you can kind of try to add more contrast, but you see how it kind of darkens the area we've just kind of pulled out of the dark. So I'm going to bring this back to stock. I just like the way it is. Now here, this is the tool you got to be careful with, because what people like to do is just start to go all the way up, and you see how kind of everything starts to kind of pop up. You even have like a more grayish color to the whole picture, and everything kind of becomes more sharp and contrasty. Now, it may kind of look fun, but honestly, try to keep it looking natural. So, as for example, this is, let's say, 0, right? I can use the sharpness in this situation with this kind of light just a little bit. So just to make it a little bit more popping, right? So just a tiny bit like that. And you can kind of feel like, these settings don't change much, but if I'm gonna press T, right, and here on the left bottom, click on it, and you can see how the photo was in the beginning and how it looks right now after you've done these a few settings. We already have more contrast. We'll already have more volume, you see, because we brought the clouds, but we made the card itself still popping up, so that looks pretty good. And as you can see, I didn't touch the colors yet, but it already kind of looks like it's a little bit more contrasty already. Keep in mind that the contrast is still at 0, so you see these little things already have changed the photo significantly. Alright, no, that's not what I wanted. Okay, let's get back to our editing. So, the color. So these two settings will kind of make your photo a lot more juicy. The colors will start to pop up a lot more. You gotta be careful with that though. If you have a dominant color and you start to pull this toggle left or right, you will probably you can kind of screw the photo by adding too much of that contrast. And it also means that the rest of the colors in the photo will become more expressive as well, which you may not want in all situations. I'll show you later. You can only bring up the colors you want and leave the other ones behind. So I would say that's kind of fine. It looks like a seaweed or something like that, so we want to keep this at a low level as well. That's fine. We don't want it to interfere with the car itself. We wanted to keep it balanced and in the background. We want that separation. Now we can go down here if you want more glare or something like that. So we're gonna keep this like that, not far from the stock, because in this situation I don't want it to mess up too much with it. This one just lights or brings down the whole lightness of the picture, so that's fine. And these still look fine from my other settings, so I'm not gonna touch these. There are a few more settings here. You can actually start adding color to your photo, but I would leave that for another video if you would like to know. But basically you can kind of make that filter look. You see, I'm gonna start, yeah, here's a little bit here, and for example I'm gonna start bring it down here. So you see how you kind of start getting that Instagram filter effect when you start messing with the colors, and you can add different drops here and add it there to kind of get that color or filter effect you like it more. So unless you want to go very artistic, I would suggest don't use it yet. Get accustomed with the rest of the setting first. So yeah, that's the blue color. You have, because they standard RGB, red, green, and blue. So you can choose, go with the right color, with the red color, and so on. So you can play with that and kind of come up with a nice tone to the entire photo. But I will keep this. So now when we move down, we get to the colors. And this is the area I was telling you about. So you can either, for example, we have a lot of green in the background. If I would want to make the photo look a lot warmer, I would go to the green, which is this one, and kind of try to pull left and right. So if I go all the way right, you see it kind of becomes really, really green, right? If I go left, it becomes more a softer or more warmer yellowish green, which kind of looks more like it's fall, it's autumn. So let's try to actually do that because I don't like this green too much. So I'm gonna go left. I'm gonna make it look warm, and now I'm gonna go back to the temperature, the white balance, and I'm gonna make it a step warmer. Yeah, just one step, maybe two. Yeah, one step is enough. And I'm going back here. So you see how I can choose to play with only one color without messing up the rest of the colors, which is really cool. The contrast, let's see. I can make it more contrasty, less. Can remove the contrast at all. I guess this can stay about stock. I'm gonna make it even warmer, like this. Yes, that looks nice. And the same thing for how bright it is. I'm gonna go. I can make it like that probably. Just a tiny bit. And that is pretty much it. I like it the way it is. Let's see what else, what color, what other colors can we play with? We have the sky, which normally the sky is blue, so we'll go to here. We already assume that the sky is blue, right? So we're not expecting a different color. So we'll go straight to the contrast. If I'm gonna go to the right, you see how kind of the contrast of the sky kind of goes into the car onto the car surface as well because of reflection. So it doesn't really work for me the way I would like it to. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep this one low here. Actually, that looked interesting. You kind of have a decolored area, but that's fine. I'm gonna keep it here. What about this one? I can either go up or I can go down, and you see kind of you can start to have more texture, more volume to your clouds, but it also reflects this volume on the car as well. So I'm gonna go back to stock. You have another sharpness tool here, but it doesn't really matter because as you can see, you have that sample. I mean, unless you're posting on a really large format, the sharpness you already got by focusing correct is more than enough. So I wouldn't touch that. The rest, chromatic aberrations, it's not really relevant in this situation because I have a good lens that gets rid of the chromatic aberration. Normally, chromatic aberration are some sort of like purple or greenish lines around on the edge of your subject, but not in this case. So we are good here. And these, I wouldn't touch really those tools down here. I'm not sure how it's called in English. It's something like vignetting. I'll have to Google it. But basically, it kind of gives you that kind of edge, darken the edges of the photo, so it kind of looks more contrasty. Yeah, I don't like it, honestly. There are very few situations when I use that. If I have a very bright corner and I want to bring it down and kind of make it more balanced, but if I don't, I'm trying not to use it. Okay, so this is okay. So, but I was saying that I want to make the sky a little bit more contrasty without messing up the reflections on the car. So for that, I'm gonna go here with this brush, and what is this? Okay, yeah, that's the right thing. I'm gonna go with this brush. This is my no. I wanted it 0. Okay. But what I need to do, I want to make the size of this kind of brush larger. That one's fine. Okay. No. Let's keep it at 0 for now. Yes. So I'm going to start kind of messing around with that a little bit. And to understand, to give you a better idea of what's going on, I'm going to press T. And there is a button here. By checking this button, you will have your masking area. So this is what I've done. I just went around and I'm making sure I'm covering the sky in the first place because that's what I want to pop it up. A little bit here, that's fine. And a little bit here. I guess that's gonna be fine. The edges will be softened anyway. So that's fine as is. Now I can turn this off because I made sure I covered the area I needed. So now I can go to here, and as I'm playing with the settings, you see how the sky only starts to change a little bit. I can keep the contrast as is here, but I'm gonna go here to sharpness. And this is where I'm going to increase the sharpness. I'm going to add a little bit more shadow. I'm going to add a little more shadow to make it more kind of dark and vibrant. The light, yeah, it's fine as is. I don't want to make it too unnatural. Okay, so I did that. And this. The juiciness of the color. So as I start to move right, you see how we started to get some yellow here, and the blue kind of was kind of raised up. So I would leave it at this, and we can even change the temperature. Kind of we want it to be more warmer or colder. You see how it changes. I guess in this case I would keep it at what it was. Or maybe make it a little bit colder. No, I'm gonna just leave it the way it is. Because the rest of the picture is warm as well, so that's fine. Yep. So this dot here represents that it's a masking area. You see how it kind of pops up. So I'm going to click this one again, the brush, and it'll disappear. And yeah, I would say this photo is complete. I'm going to remove the T, the toolbar. And now if you go to T again and you want to compare the initial result with this one, you can see how much the photo has changed in fact. You see how the natural daylight kind of makes the photo look flat. Here you kind of brought the clouds, the background color became more warm and more vibrant. I don't really like these areas a little bit because of that a little bit excessive sharpness I've added, but that's fine. You can go back and kind of reduce that sharpness to make it look, again, a little bit more natural. So yeah, I would say that's about all for this photo. We will move to the next one. Now this one kind of has a similar condition, but you have a darker area, so you have to work a little bit more. Plus, it has some things that may be nice to clean up. So we have a little bit of work to do here. Now, since I've already explained to you most of the tools or instruments you have here to correct your photo, I'm just gonna go through the editing process itself. Alright, so let's do the same thing we've done to the previous photo. I'm gonna change the profile to neutral. You see it became a little bit darker. Now, I'm not gonna touch yet the temperature, not even the exposure. I'm gonna go to the lighting. I wanna bring the lighting down and see what do I have. And look at that, there's actually some clouds here in the background, so that's really nice. But I have this area here, so I'm gonna go, okay. Again, I wanted to keep it pretty contrasty as it is. So that's gonna be fine. I don't want to go all the way in. Okay. A little bit maybe like that. Okay. So it already looks better just by taking up those, using up those two tools. But the thing is that I wouldn't be able to do that at such a good level without having the photo in the raw. Now, let's go crop this picture. As you can see again, when I've made the photo, I made sure that my headlight is in one of those 4 points. So that's fine. Let's make it 16:9 as well. I just like that wider look of the photo. And since we're here, the area, so this is actually an interesting time of the day. The fact that I have the clouds here, that's Florida, it was about to rain soon, but the time itself is around, I would say 3 or 4 p.m. So the light should soften down. You don't have the same sharp light we have here, right? It's a little bit more soft, but still. Okay, so that, and before we move on, let's try to clean up some stuff. The area was by a river. Here's the bridge. So, and there was just a lot of trash around. So let's try to clean up some of that. Now for that, you have this little tool here. It's, okay. Let's try to make it bigger, or that should be enough. So basically, I'm gonna kind of mark this area or color it, and it's gonna show me the area where it takes the clean piece from. I'll put it this way. But I have some little grass here, and it appears here as well. Now, if you look at the entire picture, you may not notice, but let's try to make it even nicer. Okay. Actually, I like this area. You see? I drag to the cleaner area, and I'm pressing escape, and it's all done. It's all cleaned up, and you don't see that piece of garbage. We can do the same thing here, like that. That's fine. Oh, nope, nope, nope. That's not what I wanted. But let's do that here. Clean up. That looks good. So that's just an easy way to clean stuff. Now, if you have larger subjects like a hydrant or like this thing here, it doesn't look all that good, but it kind of lines up with the trees. So it's fine. Yep, so in this case, oh, there's some trash here too. Yep, that's fine, and that's fine. Okay, so the photo already looks much cleaner than it was before. Alright, so we brought these down. Now let's see, do I want it to make it warmer or not? Okay, I'm gonna keep it like this for now. I like temperature. It's fine. If I'm gonna feel like changing it, I'm gonna do that later. Okay, so the white. Let's see. I should have probably pulled out the shadow on this a little bit more. So now I will try to add a little bit more sharpness. Just a tiny bit. I don't want to go over the board. It kind of looks fun, but no. We still want it to look natural. That's what I want to get. So that's going to be fine. A little bit more contrast to the colors. I'll see. Okay, I'm done here. Again, as you can see, I'm not touching the contrast. Because of the shadows that were initially here, there is enough contrast in areas, so I don't feel like adding more contrast. It's just useless in my opinion. Exposure stays the same. I'll see about color temperature. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. This one is fine as is. I don't want it to be even more lit up. Now here we can kind of try to do the same thing we've done. So make it the sky more contrasty, but then you get this weird kind of flakes of color on the car, which doesn't look good. So we'll have to do the same thing with the brush. Okay, so I'm not gonna touch that. Let's try the green. Well, that's obviously way too green. Let's keep it like that. We're in Florida after all. We want it to be green. Okay, I'm gonna drop the contrast of the blue, though it's light. Yeah, and contrast out of the car itself, so it kind of looks more uniform, if that makes sense. And that's about it. I don't feel like adding anything extra to this. Let me try to add a little bit of these. Oh, there's the cat. But again, I don't like it. Let's keep it like that. Now let's get here and take the brush. Now I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna create a masking area. And I'm gonna reduce this kind of overlay or softer radius so I can get a sharper. Although, you know what, I'm gonna put it back as it was. And I'm gonna start coloring the sky. Now I'm gonna do the same thing, press T toolbar, just to make sure I'm masking the correct area. I'm gonna go here. To avoid what happened last time, I'm gonna do that and kind of try to clean up the trees like that. I don't want my new settings to go over the trees, only to the sky. Something like that. Now that's fine. I'm gonna turn off the masking area, and now I'm gonna start playing. You see, like, I don't want to go over the board, so I'm just gonna bring it a little bit darker, like here. Oh my god. You want to help me out or what? Yeah, sure. Nope, that's my cat. Don't touch it. That's the microphone. Yes, it has a dead cat on it, but please. Nope, here's the camera. Nope, 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 nope. You know what? You probably should get out of here. Since I isolated this area, I'm gonna give it more contrast. Just like that. The light, I can make it even more dark, but then I'm gonna start seeing those areas down here which I don't want. I want it to be uniform. So I'm gonna light it up back a little bit. Shadows, same thing. That's actually fine. And now juiciness. Now here, if I'm gonna go all the way to the right, now you'll start to see some yellow, some blue. So the sun is somewhere here, and it kind of lights up the sky, and I think it looks fine. Yep, and that's gonna be about it. We can try to play out with temperature a little bit, make it a little more blue, or warm it up. And I'm gonna keep it at 0. Yeah. I want to make it smaller. I don't like this area completely, so I'm gonna try to kind of fix it a little bit. That's fine. Okay, that's gonna be about right. So I press escape, and here's what I have. Yep. And overall, I like how the photo ended up coming out. I think that looks good. I might want to make it a little bit more yellowish, the grass and trees, just to make it more warm. I like that warm vibe, and kind of blends up really well with a little bit of blue from the sky and a little bit of kind of yellow from the sun. So yep, I would say that looks fine to me. And let's compare it to what it was in the beginning. So as you can see, they look totally different. Now we have the sky in the back. The front end is definitely more lit up and kind of. So as you can see, it definitely looks way better than it used to be. And I mean, you can kind of say that it's a little bit over the board, but we can go here and kind of lower down the sharpness to here, so the bridge doesn't look as fake as it used to be. And I would say that's about it. Let me know what do you think about it. Okay, so that's about it. Now let's move to the next photo. So this one is the one I've told you about, that it looks kind of balanced right off. And yet we have the car, which is the center point. Yes, it's gray, just like the asphalt, but it has its own gray kind of flare, and it contrasts really nicely with the area around. Now the wheels are silver, which maybe not ideal, but they contrast with this asphalt around. The photo itself, you have this nice curved line that kind of goes around the car. Now we have this line here of the road. Here's a corner. So we kind of have all of the elements of a nice photo. Let's move quickly through it. I'm gonna go to profile, make it neutral. As normally darkened it up. That's fine. Let's crop it a little bit. Yes, you can see the rear lights are in one of the points again, so that's nice. What else we have? Do we have any imperfections? Yes, we do. We have this little, corn kind of getting out, which is not ideal. So let's try to get rid of it. Now if I bring the T menu, the toolbar, let's try to get rid of it. I'm gonna use a very small kind of a brush. I want it to be clean cut. Well, more or less. That looks fine. I'm gonna use this to kind of make the tree continue. And it's not ideal, but it doesn't look as obvious as it used to be. Okay. So let's go through it. I'm gonna make the toolbar disappear for now. Okay, so the profile is neutral. I like the amount of light that it is right now in here. Let's try to bring down here. And it kind of, you see, in this case, because you don't have the sun or the sky in the picture, it already darkens up, so I don't want to do that. I want to keep it about as is stock. Now let's bring up the shadows a little bit, just so we can see the exhaust tips a lot better. From here, the white, I want to keep this glare under control, so I raised it up a little bit. The blacks, the black color here, yeah, just a tiny bit. I want to preserve the stock contrast. It's fine as is. Okay. This thing here, sharpness, just a tiny bit. Of course, you want to play with that thing. Just don't need it, please. Anyway. Okay, so overall, I think the photo is balanced as is. And here's the thing. I mean, I've chosen one of the most difficult photos to work on, but there are certainly photos where you can just touch up a little bit on these base settings and you're going to be fine. The photo will still look vibrant and good simply because your initial light conditions were good. But let's try to do something. So here the flare, I want to keep it as is. The overall brightness of the photo, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. What I'm interested in is this background area. We have a lot of leaves, and these leaves are either orange or yellow. So if we try to play with the yellow, yep, that certainly is. And look what's happening. As I'm moving left, the leaves become kind of a red color, which kind of separates this area and makes it more interesting to look at. I'm gonna make it more contrasty. Yes, it's like a bloody autumn. Yes, that looks nice, and it pops up. It looks very contrasty right now. Okay, and I like it as is already. We can light it up a little bit. Let's have more details popping up. Guess that's fine. Okay. And I would say that's about enough. But I want to do something with these trees around, because those trees in this situation, they kind of blend into that background, and I want to bring them up to the front a little bit, like this branch here. You see, it's kind of gray, light gray, and you can kind of see it's kind of it's like a vein that goes through the photo, and same thing here. Now I want to do the same for this tree because it's right here, it's almost in the middle, and it's going to create for a nice contrasty object in the photo. So what I'm going to be doing, yeah, I can use that. I'm going to take the brush and do the same thing. Turn on the mask. Let's make the size of the brush smaller. That's fine. And I'm gonna start painting. Let's reduce this to okay. That's fine. Let's maybe reduce the size even more, like that. Put these branches here. Even more. And that's about it. I wanted this tree so it kind of complements those two branches that you have on the left, on the right, and that's fine as well. Okay, that's going to be enough. I'm gonna turn off the mask, and it's already lit up, but I'm gonna do like that. So here's a problematic area. I'm gonna try to delete it. And kind of look like it's blending in much better. Okay. Yep, that looks fine actually. Let's make it more. Oh, look at that! Look at that! It pops up like it's a separate object in the photo. Maybe make it a little bit more bright, but not too much. We wanted, as I said, I wanted to complement those branches, so not too much. Maybe even like that. So I would say that's fine. I like the way it looks. So let's see what is our result. So you can see that the photo became a lot more contrasty, vibrant. It has like definite elements you can look at and observe. The leaves in the background definitely added that color contrast. Let's try to zoom in. Yeah, you can see there's a huge difference between the way it was and the way it is right now. And these are just simple basic settings. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Now, this one might be actually pretty easy because as you can see, the sun already kind of set. All you can see here is the leftovers of the light, which is still considered the blue hour, so you still have a good area to work with. Now the photo itself, you have the car here on the right. If I'm going to turn on the grid, yes. The headlight is in one of those 4 points. I'm still going to trim it to 16 by 9. Bring it down. I still want to keep that airplane flying these lines, so I'm going to just keep it really down low here. Now look at that, even the ship in the background, it's in the other point. Now, ideally, I would probably want it to be a little bit more on the left because it seems like the space is too tight between the ship and the car. But that's fine. That's fine. It is. Press enter, and we're doing the same thing. Going all the way down. Choose the neutral profile of the photo. Now going back up, and let's see. Now this photo is obviously very dark. You see, so we can bring it a little bit more, bring the exposure a little bit higher to lit it up. So that's fine, I would say. We're not touching contrast. The sky itself is already pretty contrasty, so I'm not gonna touch the light. That's fine, just a little bit. Now the shadows, you see how I'm going bright, and the lower end of the photo starts to come up out of the shadow. Again, this wouldn't be possible if your photo would be in JPEG. You see how many details I start to get from the picture. The whole kind of lower part of the bumper kind of starts to come up of the dark, and that's how it was. You see almost nothing, and now it's all out here. So that's nice. We can keep it like that. The white, it's fine as is. Let's make it a little bit more dark so we have more contrast. Now I'm gonna keep the contrast here pretty low as is. So here we can try to do that, bring up the sharpness, and we kind of get the same thing, but here's the trick though. The darker the time is outside, the more you can actually use this tool. So if it's too bright outside, you already have a lot of light and the image looks pretty sharp. But as you go down, as you go up in time, and it becomes darker outside, this tool becomes more effective, and the light itself around is very soft and kind of balanced. So you can add sharpness. You can add a lot more sharpness than you could in the previous photo. Okay, so we've done that, and that looks actually pretty good as is. Again, we still want to keep that natural look of the photo. Like it's definitely, I don't know. It's the time is after sunset. You don't want to show something that does not exist. At least not in this kind of approach to your photo. Now also let's make it pop a little bit more. Yes, look at that. It becomes more colorful, and these colors reflect nicely on the car's surface. And that looks nice. A little more contrast. Yeah. Something like that is fine. You see how the image starts to come to life when you start to play with the settings. But be careful, not too much. We still want it to keep it look natural at some degree. The light flakes. Yeah, it's fine like that. The overall brightness of the photo, it's good. Now I want to bring these up a little bit more. And I would say that's about it. Let's see what we can do with the sky. You can obviously make it more blue or change the whole temperature. You can obviously play a little bit more with that, but I would say as is, the photo looks very good. So I wouldn't do much more to it except for these base settings. And here's the thing: it's if you took a good photo in the good condition, uh, you don't need to edit all that much. So that's fine. All right, let's compare it to what we had in the beginning. So as you can see, huge difference. Now you can see the car a lot better than you used to. The sky, obviously, it's more colorful and more accented, you know. Oh, man, you scared me. Yes. Okay, you're going to be helping me out. Okay, that's fine. Man. I think it looks pretty good. You see, this is kind of a little bit of chromatic aberration here. I can try to get rid of it. Since this is kind of a more green, I'm gonna try to darken the green out a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't work too much. That's fine. And the last photo for today. That's gonna be this one. And this one is interesting because it's taken in total dark night. And I'm saying total dark night because there is no natural light. So all the light you have here is from these light sources, the artificial light sources. You also have a lot of dark areas, especially because the car itself is very contrasty. You have the yellow front and the completely dark rear end. And when you have two colors that kind of don't, they look really nice in person, but on photo, they look way too contrasty. So you have to kind of play with the settings to bring them up to life. But we're gonna try it. So doing the same thing all the way down. Change the profile to neutral. Go back. Nope. Okay. I'm gonna crop it. After all, this light here is really annoying, so this way it's gonna get rid of it. You have the same thing. You have the headlight in one of the corners. It's good. Let's press enter, and that's fine. You still have this area here which doesn't look all that good, so we can just take it out of the frame. Still keep the proportions, but don't have that orange piece sticking out. So now it's good, it's clean. Let's move through the photo. I don't see any trash or areas that would bother me. Now you have this kind of light reflection here, which we can get rid of. Doing the same thing, change the size of it, of the brush. Yep, that looks fine. Or maybe not. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this one and change it like that. Now that looks much better. Okay, you don't have that flare. These flares are fine. I'm not too concerned about them because you can kind of tell that these flares could be from these flares are from these light sources, which is not ideal, but it's a tough shooting area as well, so we're fine. it's really nice that this light kind of lights up this area, so it doesn't. It creates a neighboring space or continuity of the photo because it lights up this wall here. So that's fine, but let's move to the editing part. So we already changed the profile and cropped the photo. So I'm gonna stay away from these right now because the photo again is taken in a dark time of the day, so it doesn't matter all that much. Wouldn't have all that many colors to work with. So I'm gonna go to these base settings you should always start with. So the light, okay, it takes out from the yellow, but it also at the same time it adds more. It brings up the headlights from that white spot. So do we do that? I'm gonna stay right here in the middle. And we can also bring up the exposure after all, right? And look at that. Look at that. It looks like we're kind of adding light sources and the photo just starts to come out of the shadow. And again, that's because the photo is taken in the raw format. Otherwise, you wouldn't do that. Yeah, I think that's fine. You see how that's the limit. Like I cannot bring it down even more. That's as much as it allows me to do, which is fine. We still want to keep the whole car kind of natural light reflection. You see, like this is not ideal, but I mean, you can kind of play and try to remove these. It's not a huge issue, but if you're picky, it can be a problem. Let's see if it works. Nope, I want the same. It's gonna look even worse than it used to be. Nah. Yeah, that's fine as is. I don't care. You see, it's one of those things that if you're not thinking about it throughout your shooting process, it's really hard to remove them later. Because you have a lot of stuff that interferes with it, and I mean, it's difficult. But I like the overall photo, so we're gonna ignore these for the time being. Yeah, like this area, that's fine. Okay, so we did that. We brought up the exposure. It looks kind of balanced. You start to see a lot more stuff around. These, the shadow. Well, let's try to bring the shadow up a little bit, just to make the wheels pop up a little bit more. It's a good thing that they're glossy, shiny, and they have the asphalt reflecting on them, which gives them volume. If they were made black, you wouldn't be able to see that. So just a tiny bit. I'm gonna bring this down actually to counterweight this. Okay. This one is fine as is. You see how I'm lighting up the black area, and you start to have those glares from the light sources. So we're just gonna keep it at its standard or somewhat like that, and that's fine. Now this is the funniest part, because as I said, the darker the time of the day is, the more this tool kind of starts to make more sense. So if I'm gonna start going like that, you see how I'm already at 60 percent or 62 units, whatever, more, and the car and the photo still looks somewhat normal or natural. You wouldn't be able to do that if it was on that photo of of the photo of this car, of the Altima in the sunlight. You see I already added 17 and it already looks kind of sharp. So you have a much more extended range of work in the dark light. So you can go all the way down to 100 units like crazy, but I'm gonna keep it something like that. 53, that's fine. You see how it kind of makes those lit up areas more vibrant. Okay, let's add a little more contrast to the color. Yeah, that's fine. I want to keep those beams and the asphalt more on the gray side. Okay. This one is fine too, as is. Yeah. And since, I mean, the entire area is kind of lit up pretty nicely, so we can even try to add a little bit of contrast. But just a tiny bit. We still want to keep it looking natural. That's fine. This one, it helps up with headlights, so I'm gonna keep it down. Keep this here. This one is fine. All right, then here, I'm not going to touch the other settings because I don't really need them. I can do that. I'm going to leave the sharpness of the photo as is. And here we can actually play with the colors a little bit. Now the dominant color of the photo is obviously yellow. So we can go to the yellow and do this. Take the toggle of the yellow color and change its tone. So we can either make it orange, but as you can see, because there is yellow on the beams because of the color light projection, the area around it also becomes a little bit like orange. Or we can go all the way to the right and the car will become somewhat greenish. Let's say so. Yeah. And the area around also becomes green. There's a situation depending on the light, you can make this car look a lot more greener than it is right now. Anyway, I think the orange looks pretty nice. Let me know in the comments. Okay. So, yes, we can do that. You can play with the contrast of the yellow itself, so make it a little more contrasty, although you can see kind of the car contrast stays the same. What changes is the contrast of the area around it. So I'm going to keep it around its standard value. And same thing here. Can make it light it up. And it kind of still looks decent when it's lit up, but it definitely looks terrible when it's reduced to 0 or minus 100 units. So keep it looking natural. Yes, like that. Yep, I would say that's about it. Depending on your taste, you can even bring the exposure a little bit down to make it more like it's a nighttime. And try to play with the temperature a little bit. Although because the yellow is already the color dominating the frame, it's useless to go warmer. What about colder? It looks interesting actually if you go colder. Up to that point, it still looks kind of gray and it makes even more contrasty with the yellow. But as you go one step even colder, it becomes a little bit bluish. from the headlights. So let's go up. Without this was our default value. I'm gonna go one step colder. That's enough. I still like the warm color. And that's about it. I don't think there's any more need to do anything extra to it. It looks just fine as is. Now let's compare it to the original, and as you can see, things have changed. It definitely came out of the shadows, just like with the other photo. Yeah. And it still looks kind of a little bit stock. Now again, you can play more with those settings and kind of make it even more sharper or aggressive. I don't know, add more contrast and so on. But this is where you start kind of losing it and still keeping it look realistic. And I personally don't like it too much, so I'm gonna keep it at what I think is the golden middle. But yeah, that is about it. So that was the last photo, and we're ending our video today here. I hope the video wasn't too long for you to watch and it was helpful. That's the most important part. Also, in this video, we've edited the photo of the next car I'm gonna show you on this channel, but I'm not gonna tell you which one, so you can guess in the comments. Until then, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Welcome everyone to Art Driven Roads. So please subscribe and like this video so I can